Marshall Glenn Jr. was born in Cambridge, Ohio on July 18, 1921 to parents John and Clara Spote Glenn. He attended grade school and high school in New Concord, Ohio, and went to Muskingum College to pursue an engineering degree. In 1942, he joined the Navy Reserves shortly after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. Upon graduation from the Naval Aviation Cadet Program, he was commissioned a second lieutenant in the Marine Corps. As a combat pilot, John fought in 2 wars, first flying 59 missions in the South Pacific during World War II. Then, during the Korean War, he flew 90 missions and downed 3 MiGs. After the Korean War, he trained as a Navy test pilot and was involved in the design of aircraft for the Navy Bureau of Aeronautics. In 1957, while project officer for the F-8U Crusader, he set a transcontinental speed record from Los Angeles to New York, completing the flight in 3 hours and 23 minutes. John logged nearly 9,000 hours of flight time over his aviation career. NASA was formed in 1959, and John was selected as a Project Mercury astronaut. He served as a backup pilot for Alan Shepard and Virgil Grissom, who made the first 2 U.S. flights into space. John was the first American to orbit the Earth. On February 20, 1962, he piloted the Mercury Atlas 6, also called Friendship 7, around the Earth 3 times before landing in the Atlantic Ocean. The entire mission took just under 5 hours, with orbital speeds of approximately 17,500 miles per hour and an altitude of approximately 162 statute miles. In addition to his space flights, John worked on the design of spacecraft. He specialized in cockpit layout and control functioning, including some of the early designs for the Apollo project. During his military career, John was awarded numerous medals for valor and distinction. This includes 6 Distinguished Flying Crosses, 18 Air Medals, the NASA Distinguished Service Medal, and the Congressional Space Medal of Honor. After retiring from the Marine Corps in January 1965 at the rank of colonel, John transitioned to the business world with Royal Crown Cola International and was eventually elevated to the position of president. In 1974, John was elected to the United States Senate from Ohio. As a senator, he focused on issues regarding nuclear proliferation, wasteful government spending, and aging. On October 29, 1998, John returned to space as a payload specialist on the Space Shuttle Discovery, where he participated in several experiments, including the effects of weightlessness in relation to aging. At 77, he set a record as the oldest person ever to travel in space. He retired from the Senate in 1999 after 24 years of service and helped found the John Glenn Institute for Public Service and Public Policy, now part of the John Glenn School of Public Affairs at The Ohio State University. NASA renamed its Cleveland Center the John H. Glenn Research Center at Lewis Field in his honor. He has also received honorary doctoral degrees from 9 colleges and universities. In 2012, he was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. John married his high school sweetheart, the former Annie Castor, in 1943. They have 2 children and 2 grandchildren. An American hero, pioneer, and dedicated public servant. The United States Navy Memorial presents the 2016 Lone Sailor Award to Senator John H. Glenn.
Ladies and gentlemen, Senator Glenn was unable to be with us this evening. Accepting the award on his behalf is NASA Administrator Charles Bolden.
Well, thank all of you very much, and a special thanks to Dr. London for your incredible introduction and putting the class of 81 in their place. I tell you, be careful, 81. Good evening to all of you, and let me say also, thanks to every single one of you in uniform for your service to our nation. It is very much appreciated. As all of you have certainly noticed, I am not John Glenn. I am, however, a very proud member of the John Glenn Fan Club, as I know all of you are. Also, as a fellow Marine and a fellow astronaut, I always find myself looking up to Senator Glenn. That's perhaps because he flew the first time in space 24 years before I did, and then again 4 years after my final flight. So I literally have looked up to him a lot. We have an agreement, by the way, and John knows that I would love to go back in space, and he said, can't do, which my wife loves. My son and my daughter-in-law are sitting here to attest to that. But the agreement was when I turn 77, I can become data point number 2 for a near octogenarian. So I am taking care of myself because that's only 7 years away. So Penny and Chade, please don't tell my wife. By the way, whenever I think about what he's accomplished, there's one word that comes to my mind, and that's just wow. Just wow. John would have liked to have been here with you tonight, but in his stead, I'm honored to accept this award on his behalf. Senator Glenn is a good friend of mine, and I can attest how honored he is to be recognized by all of you. I want to share with you just a very, very brief passage from his memoir, which, by the way, has a great title. It's called Memoir. You can't be more economical with words or descriptive than that. And I want to quote this. I rode the train west without a clear idea of what was before me. The war would dictate what happened beyond that. I was just proud that I was going off to do my duty. That was John Glenn. To know John Glenn is to know that at 95 years young, he's still proud to do his duty, and he's still very proud to have served his country. If he were here with you tonight, he would also tell you that nothing, but nothing means more to him than the love of his wife, Annie. I called them to wish them a happy 72nd anniversary earlier this year, and he put Annie on the phone, and Annie said, Charlie, you know, I think this might work out. But that's John and Annie Glenn, if you know them. I know that he has great admiration for the United States Navy Memorial Foundation and for the work that you do to make sure that our brothers and sisters in arms will continue to be honored by history, to make sure they're never forgotten. You know, John once joked, and I want to share his own words, so I'll quote again. As I hurtled through space, one thought kept crossing my mind. Every part of this rocket was supplied by the lowest bidder, unquote. Of course, this was just a one-liner, but it underpins a more serious point. It's the reason that the memorial must continue to stand. It's why your work to honor the fallen and keep their memory alive matters so very, very much. Because what John was really saying here was that he knew he was putting his own life on the line because that's what his country needed him to do. That's what future generations were counting on him to do. It's the same motivation that leads so many sailors, airmen, Coast Guardsmen, and Marines today to serve their country. Perhaps there is no time when we all more keenly were aware of this than on the anniversary of 9/11, which we marked this past Sunday. We are all here today because of their service and sacrifice. And when in the 2030s the boots from American astronauts hit Martian soil, it will be because of John Glenn's service and courage. With all this in mind, I'm extremely honored to accept this award on behalf of my fellow Marine, fellow astronaut, and my friend, Senator John Glenn. We are both honored tonight. Thank you.